Ryan, why are we wearing the same clothes as last episode?
I don't know. I feel like we were cryogenically frozen, like what they did to Walt Disney back in the day. That or we time traveled. I think if we did and we have that technology, why are we still here recording the show to begin with? We could be selling this and making billions of dollars from Tesla or some other high-end company. So why are we still here doing this?
I don't understand why would someone buy a show where they just talk about condoms, like in the last episode.
Hey, I'm Emilio.
Hey, I'm Ryan.
And welcome to the Terminally Online Pen Pals podcast.
We're two friends that have only ever met through the internet.
Join us as we talk about our lives in this epic show.
And the show starts now.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to a new episode of the Terminally Online Pen Pals podcast. You might be thinking, if you're a big fan of this show on YouTube, especially, you might have realized we're dressed the same. And this little speech will not be available on Spotify or Apple Podcast. It will just get bleeped, honestly. Because, fuck you guys. And plus you wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we haven't donated any of that money on Ko-fi, so, you know, we're going to start limiting the content here.
It's actually, yeah, so since we haven't seen any Ko-fi money, Ryan and I, we're going through extreme poverty. Like, that's actually a printout of our backgrounds. If you guys haven't realized.
To the point, we're so poor we had to wear the same clothes as last time, so we just can't afford a new wardrobe at this point.
The AI that plays Ryan, actually, if you haven't noticed, is now in a N64 polygon animation. It's no longer the cool HD animation I used to do. Because we're so broke.
I think Emilio's just too lazy to swap it out, so we just decided to keep the same animation for the podcast.
It's actually just old footage of you. Like,
just recycled.
With just the audio overlaid.
Yeah, take the episodes frame by frame, and you guys will see me make like the same hand gesture at the same time as the last episode, so you'll notice the differences.
Anyways, guys, no, I'm the honest and boring truth is that I will not be available to record next week. So we're doing a back-to-back special just for you guys. So to everybody that was commenting, hey, why didn't you guys talk about Ryan's week? Well, because who gives a shit? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Because we were saving it for this episode, the very special Ryan episode. So Ryan, please tell everybody at home that was begging to know about your week, about how you just went to work and had a boring and average week.
Yes. So I guess that's the end of the episode. Thank you guys so much for following this episode of the Terminally Online Pen Pals podcast. Make sure to follow us on social medias. No, it's for my week recap, guys. This week, so I've talked about some events that I've been doing for the past few weeks now, like going to see movies, going to local fair events, home renovations, that kind of thing. I really don't have anything major to talk about this week like that, because this week there really haven't been a ton of home renovation projects going on. I am planning on fixing up a hole in the roof here, started looking at some roofing to put on the side of the house where water's leaking through for the next project, and renovating the bathroom, which is going to be a fairly expensive project, but one that will be underway at some point. But I didn't really get into anything too special or crazy this week. Mainly work, hanging out around home, and going on a few daily drives. Nothing really too intense for this week, which is why we didn't mention it last episode. So I didn't go to any epic parties like what Emilio did. But I do have some epic topics to talk about for this episode. Yeah, if you watch the last episode, you get the reference.
You should check out the last episode. It's the funniest shit ever. So, but this episode's going to be the wholesome episode.
Yeah, we can't talk about anything dirty this time.
Yeah, no.
No mention of condoms or anything that we talked about before.
The first topic
we have
is
to kind of
actually
keep this.
Anal sex.
That's Emilio's topic for this one.
Crap.
I'm going to back away from this one. This is going to be, so the short clip that's going to be on YouTube Shorts is just going to be Emilio talking about it.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of be here going, yep, with my AI generated face. But
Ryan, what did
but
you want to talk about for this episode?
so I actually want to talk to you guys about. I've never talked about this on my social media, nor have I even made a YouTube video about it. See, if as you guys know, I do a retro gaming channel called the Nostalgia Factor. If you've been wanting to check out good content on YouTube. And I never even, that's the main channel I've been doing outside of the podcast for a while now, at least for this year. And it's kind of fitting that I'm doing retro gaming content because the topic I wanted to talk about is related to my favorite game of all time, which inspired, and get this, my real life tattoo. I wanted to talk about my first ever
What?
tattoo
I've been meaning
experience.
to ask you about that actually, because
Oh, really?
I opened
I
your
think I posted on Facebook.
I don't
think
use
that's all I really
Facebook
did.
anymore, but your last
Okay, that
Instagram
figures.
post is
Instagram,
actually
that's right.
that photo, and I was like, Ryan got a tattoo, and I've been postponing asking about it just because we've talked about like interesting stuff.
No, it was photoshopped, by the way. It wasn't
Yeah,
real.
no, I could tell. I was just gonna ask, when did you get good at
It's really
Photoshop?
shoddy work. It was just really shoddy.
Anyways,
Like you could tell, you see the pixelation.
yeah,
but-
it says generated with Midjourney AI.
.jpeg
Yeah.
in like the bottom corner. But no, so we've talked about this. I remember in our old show Trash Talk, Amelia and I remember made jokes about like getting tattoos for like the Jacksonville Jaguars or some like random shit throughout the years. And we joked like, oh, we're gonna go get tattoos one day and everything. And neither of us actually thought
Ryan
it would
is
ever
gonna
happen.
get the tattoo that said trash, and I was gonna get the one that said talk, and then we would get together. But now the show
Buddy.
has a different name, so I think I'll be pen pals.
Yeah.
You'll be terminally online.
Yeah, you do know these things are permanent, right?
What do you mean?
Just so you remember, like when we finished recording the episode and realized how much we regret that decision, and we're gonna have to spend thousands of dollars to have them laserly removed or
What do you
removed
mean
with
they're permanent?
lasers.
Ryan, what do you mean?
Tattoos are permanent. I don't know if you know that or not,
'Cause I
but
have
when they're put into
I have a lower back tattoo, and I don't know if it's still there.
I think that's a mole, buddy. I don't think that's a tattoo.
I don't think there's
I
moles
don't
shaped like butterflies.
Oh, we'll talk about it after the show. That was a
Oh
crazy
my
night
God.
that night.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
But this is something I wanted to talk about here on the show because again, I never talked about it on social media or on my YouTube channel. So me and I was planning on getting a tattoo for the longest time. I thought about getting it done for a few years. I kind of debated the idea. Even when Amelia and I were joking about it on Trash Talk, it was something that I had considered doing for the longest time. And it got to a point where I was looking in the area, and there was a time in my life that was pretty rough. There was a time I was finishing up my bachelor's degree. It was my senior year, and the last semester was really rough. A lot of things going on during that time, working a full-time retail job, finishing up my classes, and getting ready to start a master's degree about 6 months later. So there's a lot of stuff going on for me. And as you guys might know from the show too, I play retro video games as a hobby. You know, it's been a big passion of mine for years. So at that time, I was also continuing that hobby, but I was really depressed. However, there was one game that I played, which is still my favorite game of all time, that I still love, that not only helped me get through that depression and helped to encourage me to keep going, to enjoy other pieces of media, to finish out my bachelor's degree, but it just became a video game that I love and I still love to this day. And that game is Final Fantasy VII, which is a pretty iconic game. Not really going to get into it too much. But that game always resonated with me for the past few years, even after finishing up my master's degree, getting a new job, and everything else that I've been through since my bachelor's degree. So I finally decided that if I was going to get a tattoo, because I'd even talked about it with other friends in the past, like what we would get tattoo-wise, I decided that I was going to get the logo from the game on my right arm. And if you guys see or look up images, it is a bluish-green meteor, which should encourage some of you to watch the video version of this if you want to see it. But I ended up wanting to go and get the meteor logo on my arm. So I was looking around the area to try and find a good tattoo shop to schedule an appointment. And here's the big problem. If any of you guys out there are going to get tattoos done, make sure that you're not going to some back alley dealer who's going to use a cheap tattoo gun and just carve something into your body, because these things are permanent. You don't want to do that.
Like, not even that. You can get an STD if you
Exactly.
don't.
That's the other big thing too. Go to a professional. Go to someone who's been in the business for a long time.
We said we wouldn't talk about sex. Fuck.
Gosh dang it, Amelia! Now we're gonna have to write this explicit now too.
Guys,
So thanks for that.
when you're having sex with a tattoo artist,
That's not the main point of this. I don't think. I don't know what you're doing with tattoo guys, buddy, but
anyways, right? So you found a tattoo parlor.
I found a good tattoo parlor. It took some searching because a lot of the local people, there weren't a lot of great reviews for. Didn't really hear some good things. But I eventually went to a city about an hour or so away in another state from my house. And this tattoo parlor was pretty popular. The lady who was in charge of it, she had been in the business for over 30 years. She owned the shop for that long. She had multiple tattoos on her body, and she was renowned as a very popular artist who did really good work. So I ended up going and scheduling an appointment with her. The problem is, if you're going to schedule these types of appointments, they take, at least for her shop, it took a year. I scheduled that appointment a year in advance to go and get that tattoo done. And I think it was worth the wait.
And after
given
a
the end
year,
result.
I forgot about my appointment.
Yeah, I forgot about the appointment until the day of, but no, that did happen. The day that the appointment went down, I ended up driving up and I eventually made it to the tattoo parlor. It was a city that I was familiar with. I've visited many times in the past. I went to the tattoo shop and I walked in there, and you can tell it's an artsy place with a lot of these parlors. They have art on the walls. They have designs people have gotten done in the past. And I didn't know exactly who was going to be putting this permanent spot on my body for the rest of my life. But it turns out it was the owner herself, someone who, again, had been in the business for a few decades. So I knew I was in safe hands. She takes me into the back room of the shop, and I showed her the design. What they initially do with these things are you show the design to the tattoo artist of what you want to get done. They draw up a preliminary sketch, and they put it on a little sticky piece of paper. They put it on the part of your body you want to get the tattoo done, so that way there's an outline. Once you determine where you want it and what side you want it on, they put the outline on there, and then they prep you to actually get the tattoo done. They put cotton swabs to clean the area off with alcohol pads. You sit down in a chair, and they get the colors ready, assuming it's a color tattoo. But when you're going to get a tattoo done, and for those of you who've had it done in the past, you can probably relate to this a bit more. The needle, whenever they're prepping it, it does not feel good whatsoever. You have a needle going into your skin to engrave the ink, because it is permanent. It's going to be a part of your body forever. So it took about an hour for me to get my tattoo done, and she's talking to me about general stuff like what inspired you to get the tattoo done. You know, is this your first one? You know, she was giving me advice on like how to handle it and clean it afterwards, because you do have to keep it clean for about 48 hours afterwards, because otherwise it will get infected. It didn't happen with mine, thankfully, but it can happen. But I was about halfway through the session where I realized, okay, you know, the needle's not too bad right now. You know, everything's progressing fine. And then about 45 minutes into the session, I'm like, please end this now. my arm felt like it was going to fall off. The pain, it was weird.
You went like, oh, you know what? It already looks just like the real thing.
Exactly. Yeah, it looks just like the real thing. You can stop now. But it was weird because the pain level started pretty dull at first, but then the more that it was done, it started to rise and rise to the point where I'm like, okay, can you please just cut my arm off at this point now? Because honestly, it would probably feel better. So it was throbbing by the time it was over. And don't get me wrong, she did an amazing job with it. I would go back to that parlor again if I was ever going to get another one. But
they're expensive.
They are.
And time
it was
consuming.
Weird. The price, they are time consuming, but if you want to get one done, it is worth it. The pricing at her studio, I think per tennis ball was about, I think it was $50 a tennis ball. So
can you explain
like
that
a tennis
expression?
ball size was $50. It's not cheap. Mine was a little over $100 to get done.
But like, what do you mean per tennis ball? For us normies that have never gotten one.
Picture the circumference of a tennis ball. That's $50. So if you get lengthwise, like mine was about two tennis balls.
Okay. I got it.
Yeah. So it's like $50 per tennis ball size to get it done at her studio. And mine was about a little over two, something like that, because mine was about $100 to get done. But it was completely worth it. I love it. I have a symbol of my favorite game and a piece of media that helped me out at a critical time of my life. And it was definitely a different experience. Like I said, I joked about it for years, like with Emilio and Trash Talk. I talked with one of my best friends about it in the past. He eventually got one done on his chest, but I never thought it would happen. But you know, guys, dreams can become reality if you continue to push for them.
Fun fact: in Canada, they charge per hockey puck.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Although Canada, like with everything else, Canada has a much better rate because a hockey puck is bigger than a tennis ball. It's probably like $10 a hockey puck. But that was my first ever tattoo experience. I wanted to share that with you guys. And again, I never talked about it up to this point, but that's where it came from, buddy.
Did it, like, after it, did it hurt a lot? Like, what I've heard, I remember I have this coworker that told me this anecdote that he got a back tattoo. And anyway, so he went to his parents' house, and his dad greeted him by giving him a pat in the back, and it hurt like all hell.
Wow. For me, afterwards, like I said, about halfway through the appointment, it started to hurt pretty badly because that dull pain just continues to build up because your skin is getting irritated, it's getting tore down because there's a needle with ink going onto your body. So obviously there's going to be trauma there to the skin. In the days afterwards, it didn't really hurt per se. My arm was sore a little bit, don't get me wrong, but with the actual area that was tattooed. But in general, because I kept the gauze and the Band-Aid on for about, I'd say a whole day or so, at least afterwards. But you don't want to keep it covered for too long either, because your skin does need exposure to air. Otherwise, that's really unhealthy for it. But it didn't really hurt a ton afterwards. It was mainly just during the actual procedure. Again, about halfway through is when it really got bad for me. But I didn't experience any irritation or really negative side effects of having it done. And it turned out amazingly, which is why I said before, don't go to some random tattoo artist or some person you find on Craigslist or on Facebook Marketplace or something, because this is permanent. Take it seriously if you're going to get these appointments done, and don't regret what you're putting on your body.
Also,
because it's with you forever.
I would advise more so than saying it's permanent, which I'm still on the fence about.
But it is.
But I think more so that it's safe. You just, because sure, you can get...
Yeah.
Like, it's not the same that, I got a crappy tattoo, or I got a really nice tattoo, but now I have an STI, right? So,
yeah. You did it again. You just mentioned it. Amelia. Wow.
I don't know. I have a lot of friends with tattoos. I had a friend that had a lot of tattoos on her arms, and she was explaining, like, the story of why she got them, and she had a tattoo of, like, a dove. And I thought, it wasn't, like, a very cool tattoo, honestly. I thought it was kind of a lame tattoo.
That's something else you don't want to do either.
I asked her, hey, what about this dove tattoo? I didn't say I didn't like it, but she said, yeah, I know it's shit, but I had money and I just wanted to get a tattoo.
Again, that's something you don't want to do to people who have tattoos. Don't go out of your way to insult them, because not only is it permanent, but they paid a lot of money for it, and it's like a personal symbol, something that's important to them for the most part. So if you go out and say, wow, that's a lame tattoo, expect to probably get into a brawl, because that can't happen. Now, if somebody says mine shit, I don't care.
I think your tattoo is actually kind of cool. Even I didn't know it was from Final Fantasy, but I think it looks cool.
If you pull up the logo, and this isn't even a joke, if you pull up the logo side by side and look at like my Instagram photo of it,
I'm gonna be like, why did they steal Ryan's tattoo for their game cover?
Even though the game came out in 1997 and I wasn't even born yet. I was born the following year in 98.
What do you mean?
So I was like, if we were gonna claim copyright infringement, like it was my design first, that wouldn't make any sense.
Anyways, but yeah, that's pretty cool, Ryan.
But yeah, the detail, the details there. If you do like an actual side-by-side comparison, the artist was so good that they got every single part of the logo correct.
I would go back. It's a really nice tattoo, actually.
Thanks, man.
What other tattoo-related anecdotes I have?
I was gonna say, would you ever get a tattoo, Emilio?
I would. The thing is, I think it's pretty cool. I think, like, whenever aside from, like, I'm pretty prone. I saw this take a while ago and it brings me back to the whole I had money so I just got a tattoo conversation.
That's a reason.
Not all tattoos should have like a deep meaning. It's okay if they have them and it's pretty cool, but you should just get them. I think it's valid to get them just because you like it, and I agree with that take. However, I guess the romantic in me does think, well, if I ever get a tattoo, at least my first tattoo, the first tattoo I get should have, like, I guess, some meaning to me. But I'm still not at that point yet where I'm like,
Mm,
this thing that I did or known or this particular symbol represents something that valuable to me, sort of at the same level
yeah,
that you describe your tattoo.
there's another part of tattoos as well that can be really bad. I've met a lot of people both at my workplace and just out in public in general.
No, we're
Even at
gonna
my
talk
old
about STIs again.
No, nothing to do with that. There are people that go and get tattoos for many reasons. And one of these reasons happens to be if you're dating somebody at the time or
Oh
you're married to
no.
somebody. So you get their name put on your body. But if that relationship fails and you divorce your spouse or you break up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, their name is still permanently on your body unless you pay a lot of money to get it
Yeah.
removed. So I wouldn't recommend doing that either for tattooing. If you want to and it's a good relationship, all the power to you. But make sure that you're not planning on breaking up with them anytime soon
Or just
because that
don't do
name is
it.
on you forever.
Don't do it. I don't know that tattooing someone's
I
name,
feel like
that's like, to me that's
I
a
feel like that's
bit,
what you did with your ex-girlfriend and that's why you're saying that.
that's why I keep asking if tattoos are permanent. Uh
Yes.
no, but I would not tattoo a partner's name. Even if we were married,
Yeah.
even if we were like super committed, I'd be like, I don't know, that'd be kind of weird. I in general
No,
think
I
it's
would.
weird, like tattooing someone's face, regardless if it's like a romantic relationship.
Yes.
I think it's a bit
And
much.
if you're gonna get any tattoo of anyone, get a tattoo of like Emilio or something and send it to us.
I would kind of get a restraining order, but I would put you on the show. I'd be like, that's weird.
What if they just get like the monitor logo with the Top Pod logo on it? What if they got that? Like we could show that, no issues,
Yeah.
no restraining
If you
order.
do that, I'll show it. But I'm also gonna think
You're a little too obsessed with the podcast.
I'm gonna need you to touch some grass. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of anything, but this actually this reminded me of another story.
Yes.
My friend Marca, he got a tattoo of his favorite soccer team on his what's this part called, Ryan, in English? Yo no hablo inglés.
That's your foot, I
Oh,
believe,
okay.
if I'm remembering correctly. That's your bicep.
Hell yeah. Anyway, so he got the logo tattooed, and his one day he was just walking around the house without his shirt, and his dad saw him, and he was like, "What's that?" And he said, "Oh, it's a henna tattoo. Don't worry about it." And then he saw the tattoo again 3 months later, and he says, "Oh, so it wasn't a henna tattoo." Do you have anything else you would want to share with the class? Apparently today was show and
No.
tell. If you were a teacher in elementary school and one kid shows their tattoo, what are you doing?
That's a good question. Wear long sleeve shirts.
Now that I brought this up, and we can end the show with this one. So you want to be a teacher, right? You've told me middle school is sort of your goal.
Middle school or high school level.
Okay. Is there something, like a situation that, it doesn't have to be an extreme situation like, let's say, school shooting, but a situation that you feel like that if you were a
That's
teacher,
pretty extreme.
yeah, that's why I said no extreme situations.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That you feel like a type of situation that if a student approaches you with, that you would be nervous to handle.
You mean like concerning tattoos or just in general?
In general.
Like,
it doesn't have to be the example of show and tell. It can be just like a kid does X thing that you'd be like, this is above me. I don't know what to do.
There is something like that. It's something that also goes with working in education, whether you're a teacher, you're a faculty member, or even working as a bus driver or something along those lines. There's a thing called mandatory reporting. And if a student comes up to you, regardless of what your relationship with them is, like if they're a student you're close with or someone that you barely have ever talked to, if they come up to you and report, say, there's some bad stuff going on at home, like they're being abused or something along those lines, or they
I
tell
have
you
a
about,
Pittsburgh
I saw my
Steelers
parents
tattoo.
doing drugs or something like that, or they forced me to get a tattoo. If they tell you about something horrible going on at home or something bad they're going through, that's a situation that a teacher cannot and should not overlook whatsoever, because it's called mandatory reporting. If a student tells you about something horrible going on or a crime being committed, no matter who it is, you have to report it. And that is something that goes beyond. The teacher should do everything in their power to investigate it, to make sure the proper authorities are notified and everything else. But that is a situation where you cannot go home with the student for many reasons. That would not work out.
Okay. No, I
So
said no extreme
that's different, like,
situations, but maybe let me
I
rephrase
mean, that's
my
definitely like an
question.
extreme.
Let me
That's an
rephrase my
extreme
question.
case.
Let me rephrase my question. Is there anything that scares you about going into education? Kids hating
Scares me
you.
going to mix.
Kids fighting this podcast where you talk about condoms.
That's already happened. But that happened during my internship. But we'll save that story for another time during my master's degree. Yeah, that was a lot of stuff. They even found out about Emilio. So yeah, it was an interesting time. Again, we'll save that story for another time. But not not particularly when it comes to that. I'm someone who I got into the teaching field for a number of reasons. I like public speaking. I'm well versed in my content area, and the main reason I wanted to teach in the first place wasn't just because I'm passionate about the subject matter and the fact that I like teaching. I like teaching people new things about subjects.
And you've
But
always looked like a substitute teacher.
yes, I have. It's definitely the hair, if any of you guys were curious.
I meant
But
the glasses, for sure.
oh yeah, I kind of need those to see though. I could live without the hair. I need the glasses.
But you can change the frame.
But maybe I have done that.
Anyways,
I think my biggest thing about being a teacher is I'm not really afraid of anything necessarily going in there. It's more so gauging the crowd, knowing, because each class is going to be different. You're going to have different grade levels or different people that you're teaching, period. Obviously, you're going to have to learn and adapt, because when it comes to teaching, everybody learns differently. Some people learn from reading out of a textbook or reading a PowerPoint, watching a video, doing a group assignment, whatever it might be. It's differentiating your instruction and knowing the best way to teach your students. Because what I like about it is leaving an positive impact on my students and by extent on the world for my career. Is the reason I got into teaching in the first place was because I like teaching people new things and making somebody's day better, if at all possible, because life can be hard at times, and students don't like school. Like, some of them do, but some of them don't. So if one teacher can help
nerds.
turn that around, if one student teacher can help turn that around and get them interested in a subject, I think that's what I enjoy most about it. That being said, though, it's definitely knowing your students, knowing the crowd you're teaching is the thing I'd be the most nervous about. Knowing how to best handle a teaching situation when you have so many people who learn a different way. But I'm also not afraid of that at the same time either, because to me, I like that, because I like to keep my content different. I like to teach people, and I like to keep the situations fresh. And that way I can continue to expand my horizons as an educator as well, and help each student I have, whether they be a teenager, an adult, whatever, to do something better with their lives. So that's just kind of how I see that. Whenever somebody would ask me, what do I find most, like, what am I most afraid of, so to speak? Not really anything, but mainly like knowing the crowd, I guess.
Or like a really mean nickname, you know?
I've had those too, though. Every time I come on the show, I get like a new mean nickname from somebody in the comment section
That's me.
that I never
sorry.
see. Yeah, I think it's Amelia's alternate accounts just saying something else like Baldy.
I mean, do you
glasses.
really think we have 11 subscribers organically? It's like,
Probably not.
It's like
It's
like you're new here. Anyways, guys, so
only like half those accounts.
In order for all of those accounts to stop being mine, you should subscribe to the Terminally Online Pen Pals podcast on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast. Leave us a 5-star review, a like, a comment. Unless it's an insult towards Ryan. I already left a bunch
In
of
which
those.
case you're just
Don't
gonna
worry
get
about it. Don't worry about it. I'm on it. Don't worry. Follow us on where, Ryan? Where can they follow us?
You guys can follow us on all the awesome social medias of Instagram, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, which we've been approved for. Thank you. Very epic.
Yeah. I already mentioned those. Just gas up the Instagram and TikTok, please.
Oh yeah, you guys should definitely check out the Instagram for all the awesome photos that get uploaded of the podcast. You guys can check out the shorts content from YouTube, also on Instagram and on our stories. That way you guys can keep up to date with all the fun clips to watch the whole thing. TikTok is another great resource to check out short clips from the episodes and our awesome and very well planned and executed cold opens that you guys really enjoy hearing every single episode, that we definitely didn't rack our brains trying to figure out what the stage for the episode. So you guys should check out TikTok for that as well. Please follow us on all our social media accounts, and thank you guys for tuning into another episode of the podcast.
Happy birthday.